Thanks for that kind introduction, Coach. Part of my contract was that a percentage, depending on how many nice things Coach said about me up here, was going to go right back into his salary. So I appreciate being here, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. It's a bittersweet moment, honestly, as a college basketball coach. There were a lot of ups and downs in this past season. We won the regular season. We won the conference championship. We advanced to the NCAA tournament, and there are all these highs. You go into a game against Illinois, who won the Big Ten regular season championship. We play a great game. We come out of the gates. We're up 20-6. We're riding high. We're playing great. We're throwing punches. We're just winning. We're just winning the game. And then you come out of a game that you lead for 39 minutes and 35 seconds, and you come out with a loss. And so you go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. That's a very tough moment for not only for me, but for our players in particular. And so I say it's bittersweet because then I got the call from Coach, and my fortunes and my emotions and my feelings all started to change. As I learned more about him, as I learned more about this program, and I learned more about my opportunity to be a part of this great institution, this great basketball program, and this fantastic conference. So it was a roller coaster ride of emotions, and it ended on a high, fortunately for me. So that was awesome, and I'm extremely grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be the coach of this institution and to be the face of this program as we move forward. And I can't say that enough and how excited I am about that. And why would that be? The history of this great institution, from some of the great players that we've had here and coaches, and Frank McGuire to the likes of Alex English, to there are plenty more, to where the conference is. It's a world-renowned conference, basketball conference that way, and football, obviously. And I think it's at the height that I've ever witnessed it in the sport of men's basketball. So very exciting to be a part of that. Very excited to be a part of this institution. There are a lot of good things going on here. If you look at the growth that's taken place and the high quality of output and a multitude of teams, it's just really exciting to be a part of that and to be able to bring, to continue moving basketball towards championships as well. It's exciting to see the growth that's taken place from a facilities and resources standpoint. That's a very exciting thing for me to be a part of. And so I could list 100,000 things, but to say the least, I'm very glad to be here and glad to be the head coach in the face of this program, that's for sure. Before I get into any mission statement type of thing, I want to thank some people. And my thank you list is going to be pretty short because there is no middle with me. It's either got to be extremely short or we're going to be here until tomorrow. So I'm going to choose for the short, and that way I don't leave anyone out, but I do want to make sure that I address a couple specific groups of people and some individuals as well. First of all, I'd like to thank Frank Martin and his staff for the work that they have done here and putting this program in the state that it is now, and with so much optimism to move forward. I would be remiss if I didn't thank President Pastides. We spoke on the phone. He told me he was going to be out of the country, and it was not by intention. It was already planned. I wanted to thank Ray Tanner, of course, in his role, along with the Board of Trustees and Chance Miller in recognizing greatness when they see it. What am I supposed to say? Honestly, though, but obviously their role was very important in bringing me to this position. And so I thank them for that and the time that we've spent together. I thank all the former players and coaches that I've been around. I've been very fortunate. Coach mentioned Bo Ryan. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. But there have been, and by the way, it's not just because he's retired that he had a lot of time to talk. So, but a phenomenal coach. I've been around phenomenal coaches and players my entire career. I feel blessed to have that and had those experiences, particularly the players. You never know. You always forget the impact that you've had on a guy's life. And you see it when it's there, and I will single out one player in particular. Keaton Nankivell is his name, and he texted me. I coached him, I guess now 12 years ago. It was my first year at Wisconsin, so 12 years. And he was a good player. I liked him. I liked his mom and brother, and so we had a good relationship, but you never know. And I haven't kept in touch with Keaton during this whole time, and, you know, he's busy doing his thing, playing and getting on with life. I'm doing the same thing. And this opportunity comes up, and he texted me, and I hadn't heard from him literally in 12 years. And he texted me, and he said, "Coach, I just am so fortunate to have been a part of this timeline in your career, and I feel blessed about that." And so you don't know that you have an impact on a guy like that until something like this happens. And so I want to thank all the players that I've ever been around that have reached out, and it's been a ton, too many to list, that's for sure. And I'm grateful. I'm thankful for having been around those guys and been able to coach those guys and work with those guys, as well as the coaches that I've been with. And then the last two people that I'll thank, you know, I don't think anyone gets anywhere in life without great guidance and leadership. And I'm a first-generation college student, and no one in the history of my family had ever gone to college. And so I take that very seriously. I take education. I take the impact that I have on our guys to develop holistically. I take that stuff very importantly. And for me, it started, I always knew when I was young that I was going to go to college. And oftentimes you know that because your parents went and your grandparents went and everyone around you went to college, and it's just kind of what you do. You go to the same school or university that they went to. It's just what you do. It's planned. It's paid for. Everything is there. And that wasn't the case for me. My dad was in the Marines, and then after that moved on to civilian life and worked a variety of jobs. He was an extremely hard worker. Worked in a factory mainly, and my mom was a homemaker. And while they didn't go to college, they had a PhD in parenting. Excuse me. And that's a huge part of why I am who I am and why I'm here. So thank you to them. And both of my parents have passed away, and so I get really sentimental when I talk about them. Now, on to the fun stuff. More lighthearted stuff, because there's serious things and then there's fun things. This is fun for me. It's hard work. I commit a lot of time, a lot of effort to this profession, to anyone I work with, to any university that I represent, to any young man that I recruit and his family, to certainly any student athlete that decides to come here and play for me. My commitment is unrivaled to them. It just is. I don't break my arm to pat myself on the back for many things, but my commitment to them is unrivaled. So we'll talk about some of my objectives while I'm here as the head coach at this university. One is to engage the community, and I'm going to do that by diving in, and you'll know that more so than me saying it or telling it. You'll feel that and you'll see it. And so that's a big part of what I have done throughout my career. I probably had 20 individuals that I was in contact with the University of Wisconsin that years later followed me and came down, made a pilgrimage to Chattanooga to watch us play in person. So that'll tell you about just relationships, and I'm a big relationship person in every aspect of this thing. But I'm going to dive in to engaging this community. Embracing the past while building for the future is something that I definitely want to do. I respect the past. I embrace the past. There have been some really good players and coaches here, and without that past, there is no future. So I want to welcome all former players to coming back, to being a part of what we do, and to coming into the office and getting a chance to meet me, to meet the players that I'm going to recruit and bring into this program. I encourage that. I welcome that, and I hope that that starts pretty quickly. And so that'll be a big thing for me as well. And then one of the biggest things for me is enhancing the student-athlete experience. It's why I do what I do. There were a lot of ways that I could have made money in life. I was a business economics major in college. Coaching, my first really full-time coaching job, I made $10,000 before taxes were taken out. I couldn't believe they had the nerve to take taxes out at that point, but they did. But so I don't do it for that. I do it for the student-athlete experience, and a lot of people are going to say that, but someone did that for me. I was that guy, and I was learning things that I didn't know I was learning through the game of basketball, but really about life and about how to be a good neighbor and about how to handle failures and successes and all that all those things. And so I think it's very important. I think it's very important that you have a real, true mentor and leader, and so I'm so committed to improving and enhancing the student-athlete experience, and there are a variety of ways to do that. But that's a real commitment for me. One of them, as basketball players, I think really helps that is winning. You work hard. Everybody works hard. There are 358 Division I men's basketball teams. None of them are not working hard, I don't think, particularly early on in the season. You continue to work hard by having more belief and faith based on how you've performed oftentimes, but they all work hard. They all travel. They all make sacrifices. They're all committed to this. They all are. And I've always believed that every student athlete deserves to play in the NCAA tournament, and I always will believe that. Unfortunately, not many will get to do that. That's just a fact based on the numbers. Not many, a small percentage get to do that ever. I've been fortunate enough to be able to be in the seat sitting next to it a lot of times. I took it for granted, to be honest with you. Sometimes I thought automatically you just went to the tournament until I got my first job at Chattanooga, and we had 22 losses in that season. So that was reality, right? And there are a lot of kids that that's reality for. So my commitment to making sure that that's not the experience, that these guys, young men, do have the experience of playing an NCAA tournament and winning games, I think it's a big part of enriching and enhancing the student-athlete experience. So that's a big thing for me as well. Recruiting is a big part of what I do. That's an objective of mine. And it starts in this great state of South Carolina. The talent pool here is rich. It's really good. And I don't just mean, well, there were 2 players that were ranked in the top 10. I don't mean that. I mean the depth of talent in this state is at a high level. And there are some really high-level kids, players, athletes, students that are in this state. So that'll be the first thing. I will recruit this state incredibly hard. I'll be committed to that. We'll know my staff and I will know every young man that has potential to play at this level. Not just the guys that are in the top 10 in the country. People in Texas know those guys. People in California know those guys. But we're going to know some other guys that can help us win games here that people don't believe can help us win games here. And I think that's how you develop longevity, consistency, right? I think that's how you reproduce a consistent level of performance, is by having depth. And this state is a great place to start. It's a great state for a lot of reasons, but particularly because the talent level in this state is tremendous. And so I'm going to be committed to that. I don't get to compete at many things. I look at the games. I don't really feel like I compete during the games. It's the moment that these guys go out there, they lace their shoes up. It's their moment. I just try to push a couple buttons on the sideline and look halfway decent if I can. They do all the hard work over there. But one area that I do compete is in recruiting. That's an area that I get to compete. That's me versus them. And I won't lose because of effort. It just won't happen. I won't lose because I didn't turn over a stone or lift up a leaf or get under a bush. I won't. And then another objective of mine, I've talked about this, simply is to win. I think to win at a high level. The barriers that stand between winning, there aren't a ton here. I know we've been in 9 NCAA tournaments in the school history. I'd like to add to that. That's my objective. I'd like to add at a fast rate. I don't think it's a 6-year project. I'd like to add quickly to that. Playing in the postseason, playing in the NCAA tournament. It's why I do this. It's why guys come to practice. It's why they wake up early. It's why they run hills. It's why they lift weights. It's why they do community service. It's why they go to classes. It's why they make sacrifices. It's why they don't have the social life that someone else does. It's why they do all the things they do. It's why they do all the things they do, because they want to win at a really high level. And I'm going to chaperone them through that process. That's my job. I'm not going to make one bucket. I think I looked at the stat sheet. I still have scored 0 points as a coach. It hadn't happened yet. I've tried. It's not for lack of effort. But I haven't made any points as a coach. They're going to do all that. They're going to do all the work. But I'll push some buttons. I'll get the right guys here. Most of my work will be done in a practice facility. That's where most of my work gets done. It yields a high level of success, and it yields results for sure. So, but we'll get the right guys doing that. We'll get the right guys doing that. So those are my basic objectives. How do you win? You do it with people. I'll do part of it will be in the recruiting process. I'm a teacher. That's what I like to do. I enjoy getting out on the court, and I'm going to be banging around and bumping around with guys and pulling and shoving and throwing passes to them and challenging shots and blocking guys out and showing what it looks like and demonstrating. That's who I am as a coach. I'll be out there doing that stuff. The kids tend to respond to it well in one way or the other. They either learn something or they get a kick out of it, one or the other. So, that's and how do you get to that winning? 1 is the recruiting, the type of guys that we're here. 2 is teaching, being committed to working on and teaching the things that are most important in winning a basketball game, and the things that don't have as much impact in the total outcome of the game. I'm not going to spend quite as much time on those things, even though some of the players, they want to do the double step back James Harden. But I just, to this date, I don't know, I haven't seen that be conducive to winning championships. Otherwise, that would be the first thing that we would be practicing. So, but we're going to practice the things that matter the most in terms of winning a basketball game, and that's what I've learned throughout my career. We're going to play solid defense. Sorry, that's what I think you have to do. I think if you look in the NCAA tournament, there just aren't a lot of teams that say, hey, let's let them go ahead and do their thing, and then we'll come down and do our thing. So we are going to do that, right? But not at the expense of offense. Not at the expense of offense. We averaged 70 points or 75 points per game this last season, and we didn't shoot the ball near as well as I thought we were capable of. We probably should have averaged closer to 78 points, which would have been, in the country, it's a good number, right? Now, someone's going to tell you, if you look at the top 100 teams in the country, people don't score 85 points a game. It's not realistic. If you're playing bad teams, maybe, but when you get in the NCAA tournament, they don't let bad teams into the NCAA tournament. So my whole deal is preparing to win in the NCAA tournament. 1, how do you get there? 2, when you get there, how do you win? And that's what I told my team at Chattanooga. We went into that game not hoping to compete. We expected to win the game, period. We had practices where we addressed that. Well, why would we do this? We would do that if only we were only trying to win the Southern Conference. We're trying to do something else. We're trying to win in the NCAA tournament. And so that's what my preparation will be for. But style of play, we're going to play solid defense, right? I'm going to be regimented on the defensive end. I'm going to be loose and free on the offensive end. I keep making the joke, but it's the honest to goodness truth. If you can't be a confident offensive player playing for me as coach, then you just aren't going to be a confident offensive player. It's not going to happen. So we identify areas that guys are going to be successful. Then my job is to push a couple buttons maybe to get them somewhere near those situations. And then at that point, you know what happens? They do their thing. It's on them. They do their thing. If they like the shot, I have to love it. I don't have a lot of say-so on it at that point, okay? So it's a pretty good philosophy. Guys have liked playing for me. They've really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's for some of the jokes I tell or if it's because they like, the way I let them play. I think it's probably more of the latter than the former. So anyway, with that, those are some of my main objectives. I'd open it up to questions just to see if if anyone's interested in hearing anything more about anything specific.